Hi guys, the Benidorm Enthusiast here. Happy New Year and welcome to 2026. Benidorm has just had another monster year, but the year ahead already has some big question marks surrounding it. Rising prices, tighter Airbnb rules and constant stories of increasing crime. What effects will all of this have on tourism in 2026? In this video, we're going to break down all of that, fact by fact, and look forward to what the year ahead may bring. Could this be the year the resort gets even better and busier, or the year some people say enough is enough? Let's talk highs, lows, and all the possibilities of what's coming next. Okay, so first of all, let's get round this in real data. The Spanish Statistics Office tracks travellers and overnight stays in hotel establishments here in Benidorm, and here are the numbers for the last couple of years. In 2024, hotels recorded about 2.35 million travellers and 11.5 million overnight stays. For 2025, the latest published data set runs up to November, and by then Benidorm already hit 2.31 million travellers and just under 11 million overnight stays in hotels, meaning we were running ahead of 2024 up until December. So was 2025 the biggest ever? The trends scream probably, but I'm not going to claim the full year record just yet until the final December figures come in. But what we can see from monthly data so far is a continuous trend of beating 2024 numbers in 2025, almost every single month. What felt different to me in 2025 was how wide the season felt. It wasn't just busy during the usual peak months. More off-peak big events are filling up the Benidorm calendar. Things like the Benidorm Fest in February and the half marathon at the end of November are stretching the main season further and further around the calendar. If this continues, in the future there won't be many points of the year that Benidorm calms and gets a breather. Now, the part everybody likes to talk about in the comments, prices. Most people say that holiday prices worldwide have been increasing noticeably year after year since COVID. And in Benidorm, I think we've seen that even more because of the increase in demand year after year. Holiday companies, tour operators, airlines, hoteliers have absolutely no reason to drop their prices when demand is so high. Does a cheap week in the sun even exist anymore? Well, some will say not for Benidorm. If you want to come to Benidorm and enjoy all the things it has to offer, you'll have to pay for it. Across Spain in 2025, hotel prices and profitability reached record territory. Industry analysts reported steady increases in average rates and revenue per room. And this isn't specific to Benidorm alone, but it's part of the economic backdrop that affects the destination's cost for travellers. Over the last few years, at this time of year, I've spoken about this rising price trend and asked the question, will this be the year people say enough is enough? I'm not going to pay that for a holiday in Benidorm. Well, so far, as we've seen from the figures, this hasn't happened yet, despite my predictions that it would. Year after year, we still get busier here. Will 2026 be the year it all implodes? If I was to go off what people write online on social media pages and forums, I would again say yes, people will stop paying it. However, I've said that before and I've been completely wrong. People say they won't, but then they do. They still continue to pay the prices, even during times of a cost of living crisis. Holidays are not being taken off the table, and people will pay what's necessary to get the holiday that they want. People will cut back on other things rather than let their holiday slip. So while I do believe that this year in Benidorm things might slow down a little, for the simple reason that we literally cannot get much busier, I can't see any severe drop in tourism numbers happening in 2026, despite rising prices. Can you? As we enter a brand new year, it's the perfect time to set goals that actually make life better. And if you're thinking about moving abroad or spending more time in Spain, learning the language is honestly one of the best resolutions you can make for 2026. If you've ever dreamed of travelling more confidently, connecting with locals, or simply challenging yourself with something meaningful, now is the moment to start. That's why I'm excited to tell you about this video's partner, Rosetta Stone. It's a language learning app that uses dynamic immersion association. So your brain naturally links images, sounds and words, basically the way you learned your first language. Whether you're starting completely from scratch or trying to pick up the Spanish you learned years ago at school, it's simple, fun and genuinely effective. I'm making my own language resolution for 2026 too. This year I'm determined to push myself to have more conversations in Spanish instead of taking the easy way out when I know others can speak English. My pronunciation does make me a little nervous in these situations, so I'll be using Rosetta Stone to practice as often as I can, and their True Accent technology is ideal for this because it compares our pronunciation with that of native speakers.
La mujer se reúne con su gerente en la oficina.
La mujer se reúne con su gerente en la oficina. So let's make 2026 the year you finally tick learn a new language off your list. Whether you're preparing a move to Spain, planning long stays in the sun, or you just want the satisfaction of mastering something new, there's really no better time to begin. Check out the link in the description for a 60% discount on the lifetime subscription now. Your future travels will thank you for it. Okay, back to the main subject of the video. So what about the tightening of tourist apartment licenses and Airbnb type accommodation rules brought in to supposedly tackle the housing crisis in Spain? How will this affect things here in Benidorm in 2026? The big picture is more controls, more requirements and less Wild West, which should, in theory, be good for people living in residential buildings which have seen illegal tourist lets make life hell. It should also improve the quality of tourist accommodations, with stricter guidelines to adhere to in order to be a legal letting. But if supply tightens, at the same time demand stays strong, this will likely push prices even higher this year. It's actually crazy to think that even with around 150 hotels, plus apart hotels, campsites and then Airbnb type rentals on top, there are still points of the year when it's hard to find a room in Benidorm. Personally, I do think there is space for Airbnb type rentals in our tourism model. I think they provide a different type of accommodation offering, different style of holiday. I do think controls are necessary to help keep a balance in tourist cities and to maintain a level of quality. But making the tourist let licence out of reach for many is not going to solve the housing crisis, in my opinion. For the most part, the people that I speak to that have properties that they don't use as a primary residence here in Benidorm still won't turn to renting out their properties long term, and that's because the risk of it being taken over by people who just stop paying is too high. It can take years of costly court cases to get someone out of your property, and that risk is not one that many are willing to take. It's why we see such incredible requirements to be able to rent an apartment long term now. Owners are asking for months paid up front and massive damage deposits, and I can't see that changing until the law swings in favour of the property owners over illegal tenants. Next, let's talk about the topic everyone loves to throw at Benidorm: crime. Over the last few years, Benidorm has gained a reputation, at least online, for being a dangerous place. But is it that we just hear about crime more nowadays because of social media and the internet, or are there in fact more crimes being committed? And will this put people off booking in 2026? Well, if I'm completely honest, there is an area of Benidorm where I feel a little uneasy these days, and that is a small stretch of the Strip. Though in the last few years I've never actually had anything bad happen to me around there, but because of all the stories that I've read online and heard about online, I definitely feel more on edge around there. There's absolutely no denying that that area in particular is riddled with drugs, and some of the stories of violence coming from certain bars on that stretch are beyond comprehension. But you do have to remember that that is just a tiny part of Benidorm, a small part of one street in a vast city beach resort that stretches for miles. Is there actually an increase in crime in Benidorm in general? Well, the statistical answer to this will shock you. On paper, the crime numbers have actually been decreasing in recent years. In Q1 2025, Benidorm recorded around 1,271 criminal offences, which was a drop of around 21% from Q1 2024, when 1,613 criminal offences were reported. Running through to Q3 2025, official reported offences were around 4,728, slightly less as the same period the year before. These stats actually shocked me. A decrease in crime goes against absolutely everything that you read and everything that you hear about when it comes to crime in Benidorm. However, I do know a lot of crimes go unreported, and so those figures probably don't represent the real crime numbers anyway. But crimes still went unreported in previous years too. Not going to the police station and to make an official report is nothing new. So it's really difficult to say whether the crime issue in Benidorm is actually worsening or not. My take, stay street smart just like you would back at home, and you're no more at risk than any other busy tourist town or city. The whole of Benidorm being a no-go zone story is definitely way overcooked. Will the perception of Benidorm as a dangerous place put people off booking for 2026? Well, yeah, I'm sure it already has put some people off. We are very lucky in Benidorm in that we have a very loyal tourist base. We've got people that come here 3, 4, 5 times a year, people that have passed their enthusiasm for Benidorm on through the family generations. But if these uneasy feelings start to rub off onto these people, and they start to feel like they're not being looked after on their holidays, I'm 100% sure they will look to go somewhere else. And if we lose the regulars, then we really will be in trouble. In my opinion, the authorities not tackling the crime issue, regardless of official numbers, and not looking after tourists better, is the biggest threat to sink the Benidorm ship in 2026. In summary, I think that Benidorm will stay busy in 2026. There will be no imminent implosion. It may not be quite as busy as 2025, it may just steady away, but it won't be far off. The value for money argument does matter, and the holiday companies do need to be very careful just how far they push their prices. On the optimistic side, Benidorm is still investing in the stuff that makes the resort better. When it comes to services and experiences, it's constantly evolving here, and you can see that with your very own eyes. At least some of your money is being put back into the city to make it a better place for future holidays. There's always new bars, new hotels, cafes, restaurants, and upgraded infrastructure such as parking, lighting, even whole area renovations, as well as specific projects. We'll be doing a full video looking at the main refurb and renovation projects for 2026 soon. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. If you'd like to stay in the loop as to what's going on here, also check us out on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. And let us know your thoughts on today's subjects in the comments. Is 2026 going to be the year Benidorm prices itself out, or the year it levels up yet again? Tell me, what week do you normally come to Benidorm, and what price would make you go nah and move on to another destination? Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Once again, a happy new year to you all. Stay positive and stay safe.